Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin Films and welcome to another random review. And today's random review is of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead from 1990. This is a film written and directed by Tom Stoppard from his own play, and it's based on two minor characters from Hamlet. But in this film they're the focus, so they just wake up in the middle of nowhere, can't remember anything, and then work their way back into the story of Hamlet. It's really cleverly done as they kind of drift in and out of the story while Hamlet kind of goes on around them and they don't really have a clue what's going on. It is a comedy. It stars Tim Roth and Gary Oldman, and their chemistry is just fantastic. It's one of those films you're either going to love or hate, and I'm definitely in the love category. Like I said, it's from 1990, and I think I saw it on home video, so I've probably loved it for about 25 years. It's just a great film. It's probably not everybody's cup of tea, but the script's just fantastic. The performances are great. Ian Glenn makes a really good Hamlet, and like I said, Gary Oldman and Tim Roth are just fantastic. It's really about fate, because they don't really know what's going on, but obviously their lives and their fate is predestined, as in the story of Hamlet. I won't give away what happens if you don't actually know the story, but they can't really escape from whatever their fate is. So it's got a kind of, yes, it's a comedy, and yes, it's funny as these two kind of bumbling idiots try and work out what's going on. But it is also a tragedy, because Hamlet's a tragedy. But it's really well done. It's just under 2 hours. You could argue it's maybe slightly long, but you do enjoy it so much that it doesn't really matter. It does fly by pretty quickly. They come in contact with a troupe of performers led by Richard Dreyfuss, who's maybe a little miscast. Originally it was supposed to be Sean Connery, apparently, or they wanted Sean Connery, but it ended up being Richard Dreyfuss. And he always seems to know more than Rosencrantz and Guildenstern do. There's obviously great comic mileage in trying to figure out which one's Rosencrantz and which one's Guildenstern, because they're not actually sure themselves. There's great set pieces with Gary Oldman, because he seems to accidentally stumble on kind of scientific discoveries well before their time. For example, when he gets in and out of a bath, he realises the water level's going up and down. He kind of creates the first hamburger, but then can't actually figure out a way to eat it because it's piled up so high. He accidentally comes across steam power, but all these kind of little discoveries are crushed by Guildenstern, or is it Rosencrantz? They have a wonderful game of word tennis where you're not allowed rhetoric or repetition, or you can only ask questions, which is an interesting alternative to Wimbledon. Yeah, it's one of those wee films that obviously there wasn't much of an audience for. I looked up IMDb and it made $700,000 at the box office in the US. So strangely enough, that's why there's not a Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead Part 2. Even although I did notice as a 2009 film, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are the Living Dead. I guess they'll make a zombie film out of absolutely everything. Yeah, great little film. Not perhaps to everybody's taste, but bizarrely it actually works very well as an introduction to Hamlet. Obviously you can watch Kenneth Branagh's 4-hour version of Hamlet, but that's a bit of a slog. This is actually quite a good version of Hamlet, even although it is just the only parts of the Hamlet play you get are when Rosencrantz and Guildenstern interact with the characters, and then they actually speak in Shakespeare's language, whereas when it's just the two of them, they just speak, I wouldn't say normally, but obviously not in Shakespeare's language. Yeah, I mean, it is hard to describe why it's so enjoyable, apart from just the chemistry between the two of them. And again, just the ending as it plays out, and it's just, again, a fatalistic... I do have a soft spot for films that are fatalistic and characters that kind of have one fate and there's nothing really they can do about it. And they just have to accept it. At one point Gary Oldman kind of asks, is there anything they could have did differently, or was there a moment that they could have got out of it? But there isn't really, because their parts have already been written, their roles in life have already been written. And I think that's why it does kind of strike a chord with me, just because sometimes you feel there's nothing you can do about the way your life's going, and maybe it has been kind of written for you and you are what you are. But that's quite a philosophical discussion to be had, but that's kind of what gets brought up in this nice little comedy that I think just about everybody's forgotten about. But as it approaches its 30th year, which is quite hard to believe, it definitely deserves another look, because it's a great wee film. At some point in the fullness of time, at the appropriate juncture, I'll probably do like a top 150 films. I won't, it's impossible. But Rosencrantz and Guildenstern would definitely be in it, because I just absolutely adore this film. So please let me know if you've seen it before, what you thought of it. I know it is a kind of love it or hate it film, but strangely enough I think they're the kind of films that I enjoy. Maybe I'm just a contrarian, I don't know. So please let me know in the comments if you've seen this film before, what you thought of it. And we'll see you again, hopefully, for more random reviews. I know I haven't done a top 10 for a while. I am working on it, honest. But life does seem to get in the way of films, which is quite annoying. So thanks very much for watching. This is Solitary Ronan from Solitary Ronan Films, saying have a fantastic weekend.